Hello and welcome to our high school GCSE video series. Today we're looking at how to solve direct proportion questions. So first of all we need to say what do we mean by direct proportion. All it means is that we're looking at two quantities, and as one quantity increases the other quantity also increases. The other thing that happens is if one quantity decreases then the other quantity also decreases, so they move together, and that's what we mean by direct proportion. So we're going to have a look at three examples. Our first example is that V is directly proportional to I, and we're given in the question that if V is equal to 10 when I is equal to 0.5, part A of the question is write an equation linking V to I, and part B of the question is find the value of V when I is equal to 4. Now if you're studying physics you'll probably recognise this as being Ohm's law, where V, the voltage, is the current multiplied by the resistance. So have a little think about that as we're going through, that this is really, it's a maths question but we can link it in with real life physics. So moving on to step one, first of all we want to write down a general equation that links V and I. And we start off by writing it as V symbol I, so that little squiggle there, and that just is a shorthand for V is directly proportional to I. Another way of writing this is to say that V is equal to K times I. Now this value of K is just a number, and it's a number we need to find, and it's just called the coefficient or the constant of proportionality. So let's move on to step 2. So we're going to substitute the values given in the question into our equation V is equal to K times I, and that will help us to calculate the value for K, this coefficient or constant of proportionality. So replacing V with 10, replace I with 0.5 gives us 10 is equal to K times 0.5. If we then divide both sides of this equation by 0.5, that will give us that our value for K is equal to 20. So for step 3 we can now use our new value of K is equal to 20 to rewrite our general equation, so we end up with V equals Ki becomes V equals 20 times I. So that's our answer to part A of the question. Moving on to step 4, so that we can answer part B of the question, we're now going to substitute the given value in part B of I is equal to 0.4. So now the current has changed. It was previously 0.5. It's now got a value of 4. So we can put that into our equation that V is equal to 20 times I. Substitute I for 4. So that will give us then V is equal to 20 times 4, which equals 80. So to answer part B, V is equal to 80 when I is equal to 4. And just a reminder, that number 20 there is our value of K, which is our constant of proportionality, or some people call it the coefficient of proportionality. So we're going to move on to some other examples, but they're all exactly the same procedure. So for example 2, we're looking at Y is directly proportional to the square root of x. So the question is, if y is equal to 128 when x is equal to 16, write an equation linking y to x, and part B, find the value of y when x is equal to 36. So the values we've been given will help us to find k. So step 1, we write down a general equation and we'll go straight to y is equal to k times the square root of x. So remember we need to try and work out what k is. So moving on to step 2, we can substitute the values given to us to work out the value of k. So we can replace y with 128, replace x with 16, so we get the 128 is equal to k times the square root of 16. So square root of 16 is 4, so 128 equals k times by 4, divide both sides by 4, and that will give us that k is equal to 32. So we can now rewrite our equation, which had as y is equal to k times the square root of x. It now becomes y equals 32 times the square root of x, because we found out that k is equal to 32 for this particular question. So moving on to part B of the question, we go now to step 4. So in part B we're given that the value of x is now changed from what it was. In part A it was 16, now in part B it's 36. Excuse me, sorry. So y is equal to 32 times the square root of x. We substitute in the value for x, which is 36, and that will give us then y is equal to 32 times 6, which is 192. So the answer to part B, the value of y when x is equal to 36, is that y is equal to 192. Moving on to our third example, it's all the same procedure, but we've just got a slightly different situation. We're now saying that p is directly proportional to f cubed. So our question is, if p is equal to 400 when f is equal to 10, part A, write an equation linking p to f cubed, and part B, find the value of p when f is equal to 4. So step 1, we write down our general equation, so we can say p is directly proportional to f cubed, or p is equal to k times by f cubed. So we need to find out what k is. So we put into our equation, or substitute the values given to us. So instead of p we write 400, and instead of f we write 10. So 400 equals k times 10 cubed. 400 equals k times 1000, because 10 cubed is 1000. So we can divide by 1000. So we work out then that our value of k in this particular question is 0.4. So step 3, now that we know that k is 0.4, our equation p equals k times f cubed becomes p equals 0.4 times by f cubed. So moving on to step 4, which helps us to answer part B of the question, we now substitute the new value for f is equal to 4 instead of f being 10, which it was previously. So p is equal to 0.4, that's our coefficient or constant of proportionality, times by 4 cubed gives 0.4 times by 64, because 4 cubed is 64, which gives our answer of p is equal to 25.6. Well, thank you very much for watching, and I hope that's helped you with your direct proportion questions.